Donc, on va avoir une présentation en anglais de Anoushka Chakravarti, qui est d'Inde, qui est psychologue et chercheuse dans un institut de sciences médicales et qui a fait son mémoire de maîtrise sur les possessions. Elle a des hommes et des femmes qui vivent des expériences de possession, et là, elle s'est concentrée sur les hommes qui étaient possédés par des entités féminines. Donc, vous verrez, les slides sont en français et en anglais de façon alternée, vous puissiez tout de suite. Mais s'il y a des questions, vous pouvez les poser en français, je pourrais les traduire à la fin. Let's go. That's good for you.
So, hello, good afternoon. I am Anoushka Chakravarti. I come from Kolkata in India, and I have completed my master's in clinical psychology. So, during my master's, when I was wondering what I should do for my dissertation, hailing from Kolkata, I have seen this phenomenon called Bhaurnama since my childhood. I've heard of it. So, in our culture, it is a phenomenon where the goddess is possessing an individual. It can be any god. So, it can be very different. So, that is some phenomenon I heard of. And I thought, why not do my dissertation on it? And that is how I came to this. So, today I'll be speaking on how we see, how in our culture, I've seen these male possessions. Possession happening in males by female deities. So this phenomenon of deity possession by a deity itself is called Bhaurnama in Bengali. And in the Indian culture, which is a very collectivist society, we have frequently witnessed religious possession in the various different states of India. It happens in different forms. So while the Western philosophy of Western psychology often pathologizes this, calling a trance and possession disorder, it is almost always very acceptable in the Indian religious norms. So, just to give a context and background, I wanted to speak about the Hindu philosophy, or how Hindu religious and Hindu philosophy views gender. So in Hindu philosophy, we have an Atman, which is mostly the soul or the self, which is free of the ego or one's consciousness. It is one's pure consciousness, which is free of any judgment. And then there is Brahman, which is the ultimate reality. It is also a part of the Atman is a part of this ultimate reality. These are beyond body, sex, or gender. So we do not, the religious texts or philosophy do not view gender as an absolute concrete thing, being male or female. Rather, it is a fluid concept being described by types of energies, which I will discuss a little later. So it is a more fluid concept in the religious texts or in Hindu philosophy, and it has also been seen in the main texts, philosophical texts, main gods or goddesses such as Vishnu, who have taken various forms through the scriptures. The male goddesses have also taken female forms in various scriptures when needed, because it was beyond something that the society would look down upon or something. It was what was needed in that context. For example, Arjuna had taken the form of a dancer, female dancer. Arjuna is a very important king and warrior in the Hindu scripture. So he was given a punishment by another goddess to become neither female nor male. So another god called Indra diminished the punishment and told him that he can be a female, and he had to live as a female for 1 year. So these things, fluidity of gender has been seen in the Hindu scripture earlier. And there is the third gender called Tritiya Prakriti, which are the transgender people in Hindu scriptures have already mentioned these things, and it has been recognized and considered sacred in our context for many thousands and thousands of years. So this is a concept called Ardhanari Swara, where it is saying that these two forms of energy, one is Shiva, which is the consciousness, that is the masculine form of energy, and then there is Parvati or Shakti, which is the feminine energy. And to be whole, or it is more complementary, these both coexist in a person. It's not just that a person has either consciousness or Shiva or just Parvati or Shakti. To be more balanced, a person needs to have both. So these two are not very concrete, like this is Shiva is male or Parvati or Shakti is female. The blue in this picture, we can see how it has been represented in the Hindu philosophy over the years. So the blue part is the god Shiva, and the female part is the goddess Parvati. These two goddesses are extremely important in the Hindu culture, and this figure is more like a yin yang. So it is noting that the unity of both is important for a balance of these energies. So this Shiva is also called Purusha, which is the pure consciousness. So it is more like I am being conscious about what I am seeing without any judgment, or I'm silently witnessing it. I'm not doing anything about it, but I am absorbing it. So here what comes in is Parvati or the Prakriti, which is the active energy where I'm acting upon something. I may be conscious about something, like, for example, I am aware that I have this impulse to do something, but I'm not doing it. So there, that is where the energy comes in, the active, creative force of manifestation that I am eventually going to do it. Hence, both these powers are extremely important to do something. To do something that is, both of these are something which one has within them, and one has to access both of them together and combine them. One is incomplete without having Shakti, which is energy. Just consciousness is not going to work out. Hence, this possession in males by a female deity, it acts as a sacred union where the men embody the goddesses and the male body, that is, they might have the consciousness, so they are channeling their energy when they are being possessed by acting as a vessel from which this energy flows. Hence, this is very symbolic of cosmic balance of stillness, that is consciousness, and dynamic energy. So India has a history of 300 years of colonialism. So during that time, many of these philosophies which the Indian cultural context was based on for very many thousands of years had changed. When the Western philosophy flew in and colonized India, then it was implicated the rigid concepts of there are male gender and female gender, which did not align with what was already existing in the Indian scripture. And it went as far as to criminalize the third gender, that through the Criminal Tribes Act, where it was criminalized and it was looked down upon, whereas previously they were given a very important role in the temples or in various rituals, religious rituals. Eventually, as a form of the freedom, it was seen that India as a nation was given a symbol of Mother India as a female connotation, as a symbol of purity. The colonial intervention narrowed the conceptual space for this gender variance which already existed in India, emphasizing heteronormativity and legal regulation. Hence, we can conclude that the dynamics on which the Indian context or the Indian rituals were based on, or the society was tied upon, after the 300 years of colonialism, a lot had changed. Hence, the socio-cultural context of how gender was viewed had also been changed. Because then India has currently, it has entered into a space where nobody is talking about this energy and consciousness when they view female or male energies anymore. It is very heteronormative and compartmentalized right now. There are males and there are females, although there is acceptance of the third gender, that is transgender people in India as well. So even in the Western philosophy, when we talk about we talk about how Emily Butler viewed gender. Gender was a concept of performativity. She viewed gender as a concept of performativity, which is that gender is not an inherent trait, but a series of repeated acts. Hence, this male possession by female deities can be viewed through those lens, since the men adopt feminine gestures and speech during these trance ritual, challenging the general traditional gender norms. This performativity refers to how they are repeatedly doing certain acts, certain speeches, certain actions, which are more reflective of their gender. Hence, when a male, for example, in India, there is another state called Assam. So in Assam, suppose a male dancer is being possessed by the goddess Manasha. In general, when the male has the central personality, they are performing certain sets of repeated activities and certain speech, certain voice modulation, which is making the others understand, okay, this person is perceived that, okay, this person's gender is probably male. But when they are being possessed, those movements are changing. So for that little time, there is a subversion of identity into feminine, because during that time the repeated actions, the voices, the activities are more feminine. Hence this possession is usually, it is, for example, there is rules give power to the people and there is a discourse about it. So the normal set of rules, there are a set of rules in the society for how a man should be behaving. Hence, when the man is being possessed and they are defying the rules, it is a little act of resistance, and it acts as the possession temporarily overrides these patriarchal norms of how a male should behave. But the other people, it becomes acceptable through that lens, because given how people view the goddess as an authority, even if a male is acting in a feminine way, nobody is going to look down upon the male during that period, because everyone is looking up to the goddess and seeking the blessings. Hence, although it is resistant to the normal rules, it becomes very acceptable, and the affiliation the people who are possessed get are immense. So from this we can understand that in Indian history and certain Western philosophy implies that gender is not very concrete. Gender can be extremely fluid. Next, I would like to talk about how the existing literature has already spoken about males experiencing possession by other female deities. So, the literature on this specific topic is very little, and there has been some research in countries like in Brazilian population, in Myanmar, which was on the Buddha religion, and also in Africa. So when they see this, it is it is it can be different. At times it is ritualized, where the person is trained that before the possession, there is drumming, there are many rituals which are carried out, then there are changes in the dressing and gestures and vocal patterns, and at times it is very spontaneous. It is not that the person on purpose is trying to get possessed or doing a certain set of activities. It is not in the person's control that it just happened. So These performances are usually culturally sanctioned. Wherever these performances are ritualized, it is very culturally sanctioned. It is not necessary that transgenders or cross gender dressing is sanctioned in the culture. But when they are being possessed by another female and then acting as effeminate, that becomes culturally sanctioned. For example, in one of the articles in the Burmese culture in Myanmar, they asked the individuals whether they are okay with homosexuality. But the people replied that that is illegal in the country. But when they are talking about these people who are being possessed by females, and after being possessed by females, their behavior in general in normal life, they also take the role of the female. Some males start identifying as females, but nobody has an objection to that because they don't see and they start having relationship with other males because the other people don't view these males as males. These other people view these males as females because the goddess is coming. So in general also, in the context, it becomes very normalized and it is not viewed as homosexuality anymore, and it is called heterosexuality. So culture plays an important role, and this helps transcend the cultural boundaries. Where in a country where homosexuality is illegal, if the male becomes female during possession, even during the time the person is not possessed, the male is still being able to act as a female and being culturally accepted because the other people think it is the goddess's vessel and it is the goddess herself. Hence, this female spirit possession offers a social framework for expressing same sex desire or female behavior, which becomes very acceptable to the other people, even in a small remote village where it would really not be otherwise very accepted, it becomes very acceptable. And the male's original latent homosexuality now becomes very acceptable because it can be viewed as heterosexuality. So mostly the perspectives which speak about this trans and possession are from an ethnographic or anthropological lens, who provide that it helps in the distress of the culture, or this possession plays a very important social role. It can provide healing, authority, or livelihood within the community, as the male who is healed while channelizing the female spirit or the female goddess is giving blessing to the other people, and the people are very acceptant, and there are masses, hundreds and 200s of people coming for seeking those blessings, which in other culture, in any other scenario where a male is dressing up as a female, would be extremely looked down upon, or it might even be illegal and the person might even be jailed. In the clinical perspective, many a times, if it is not culturally accepted, whatever possession is happening, it is often focused as dissociation, links to trauma, and as trance and possession disorder. So I would imply that we need to integrate all these different perspectives to form a holistic understanding of what is happening. And it is very different from each and every social context. To look within India itself has over 25 states, and each of the 25 states have their own culture. Although the most predominant religion is Hinduism, all the 25 plus states practice Hinduism in a very different way. So there are over 33 crore gods and goddesses in Indian culture. So each of these states are practicing this thing in a very different way, which is more relevant probably to their culture. Hence, some ritual which is happening in West Bengal is not relevant to what is happening or related to what is happening in Kerala. So, here are the various forms of trance and possession in males by female deities, which are happening in various different Indian states. So, for example, in South India, there is possession by Theyyam, or there is in Assam, there is possession called Deodhani. So each of these possessions are being conducted by different gods and goddesses. In South India and in East India or in North India, the cultural context becomes entirely different. So, for example, in South India itself, there are various states called Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Karnataka. And here we can see each of these states have their own different kinds of goddess possessions. So, and most importantly, it is so different that it is not only the main goddesses and goddesses, even these tribal cultures have their own different sets of gods and goddesses. So the cultural context and societal implication behind each of these possession sets can be very different. And the list of these experiences I have stated here are mainly focused on which is very ritualized, and the people are usually trained beforehand as in what to do when possessed. For example, I'll be showing a few videos of Theyyam, of Deodhani, and of Bhutakola and how they differ a bit. So for Deodhani, the goddess Kamakha is channelized through males, and it is not just one individual, it is a event for days, and the person the person is being trained for a long time. Even for Theyyam is at times it runs in the family, as in the father was trained so that he could perform, he could be possessed, then after that the son is being trained. So these are things which the other people in the community, in the tribal villages, they look at the person as gods and goddesses, and it is a very important part of their culture. So now I would like to show you some videos. So this is a video of Theyyam which can be seen in Kerala. So there is an elaborate outfit and things that the person who is performing the trance and possession does in Theyyam. This is something which happens in Assam, another different state in East India. Theyyam happens in South India. This is Deodhani festival, which happens in Assam. And this again is from South India, but a different state. The previous one was from Kerala. This is from Karnataka. As we can see that these people go from houses to houses giving blessings. So for my dissertation was not only on male possession, but it was on any kind of DT possession, because the kind of literature I found, existing literature was mainly anthropological or ethnographic or quantitative, and it mostly focused on the North and the South Indian population. So there was not much research in the East Indian population. And most of those predominantly explore the female experiences of how possession helps them counter patriarchy. So there was not much information of on male possession. Hence, to understand the psychological components underlying religious possession through a qualitative lens, to understand their phenomenological lived experiences, the functions and needs that possession states fulfilled in these individuals' lives, and to understand how it is happening in East Indian population in both males and females. I conducted this study. The aim of my study was to explore the intrinsic maintaining factors of religious possession, understand their lived experiences, and the conscious mechanisms behind religious possession. The objectives were to understand, to explore unconscious needs associating with maintaining religious deity possession states, and to identify the defense mechanisms used by these individuals experiencing religious deity possession, to understand the underlying conflicts and anxiety within individuals experiencing religious deity possession, to understand the subjective understanding of their lived experiences of how they view this possession happening to them and what is their experience. I had conducted it with 4 participants, out of which 2 were males and 2 were females. Today, I'll be talking about the data set on only the male population. The inclusion criteria was that the person experiences spontaneous possession. So the videos I showed you were on very ritualized possession, where all these experiences will lead them to being possessed. But for my research, I selected people who were spontaneously possessed. That is, they were not sure that they'll do these set of activities and they'll become possessed. The possession is not in their control. Hence, they spontaneously became possessed. Which who are Hindu, because the possession is very different from in different religious contexts. So to keep it more direct, we chose people who are Hindu, aged 18 and above, and from diverse cultural backgrounds, but living in West Bengal itself. And we excluded people with psychological or medical illness, possession whose possession happens after the influence of drugs or alcohol. So we did not focus on giving any diagnosis such as trance and possession disorder. We were not evaluating. We viewed it more as a cultural phenomena which is happening in West Bengal. So it was a qualitative research which was exploratory and cross-sectional. We used purposive and snowball sampling to select individuals who are meeting the exclusion and inclusion criteria. After giving the informed consent form and obtaining their socio-demographic data, first we did the thematic perception test to understand what are their unconscious mechanisms which are driving this, because although we also used in-depth interview to understand their lived experiences, we used this thematic apperception test because it helped demonstrate fantasies and psychodynamics which cannot be comprehended during the interview. We utilized this test's self-exclusionary feature of the ego in imaginative production. We interpreted the TAT data using Belek scoring system, and we interpreted their conception of the world, their religion, relationship with authority figure as well as contemporary figures, the needs of the hero, their internal conflicts, the nature of their anxiety, and their defense mechanisms. Simultaneously, we also then conducted an detailed, in-depth interview, which was then interpreted using interpretive phenomenological analysis so that we understand their lived experiences in details, and it helps us both interpret it, how they are seeing these experiences, as well as how as a researcher we are viewing these experiences. Then they were coded by all my 2 supervisors and me as well. So these are the cards I utilized for my research from thematic apperception test. we tried to view how they view themselves, their view of themselves, then their view of their family. Then we also used how their equation is with their parents, as in their mother and the father, in different cards. Then, if what about their aggression? What about suicidal tendencies? Then we use 13MF, which is a sex card, and also the card number 16, which was also utilized to see their idea of themselves and what are the general fears they have in life. So we used all these cards, and these are the cards that we used. The 16 card is a blank card. Hence, after going through all of the cards and after saying their stories, they were instructed to say the story which comes to their mind, giving an introduction, what happens, what are the dialogues, who are the various characters. And after doing all that, they were asked to just close their eyes and think what comes to their mind when they see this blank card and paint a picture so that we can understand their internal psyche. Because at times, what happened was in the interview, although they presented something, for example, what we found, although interviews, they were saying they have exceptionally good relationship with their families, with their mother. But in the unconscious tests, we could find that they have very conflictual or strained relationship with authority figures, where they do not even identify the mother character as a mother or the father character as a father, or having unresolved Oedipal complexes. So here I'd like to share the story, the cases of the two male participants. Participant 1 is a 32-year-old Bengali Hindu male residing in an suburban locality. Sorry. Extremely sorry. Yes, so participant 1 was a 32-year-old Bengali Hindu male residing in a suburban locality in Calcutta. He has been deeply associated with temple rituals from a very early age. He belonged from a priestly family. He recalls beginning his devotional practices at the age of 5 when he started worshipping the goddess Manasa, who was worshipped in their family, a ritual he found deeply fulfilling. By the age of 10 to 12, he became actively involved in temple work, assisting with various duties. At around 12 years old, he commenced performing puja independently at the family's current mandir, which is a Shitala mandir, which is another goddess. One particular experience, when he was about 15 or 16 years old, he was sleeping in the temple at a winter night around 1 to 2 a.m. He recalled hearing the sound of anklets in a very quiet space. Then he witnessed, according to him, he saw the goddess in front of him as a child form. his family carries an old tradition of worshipping Ma Anusha, which was historically confined within their family. And since his possession has began, they have gained a larger audience as more people, even from different villages, are coming to talk to him while he is possessed. And as more people get results, more and more he is gaining more and more popularity, and more people are coming asking for solutions to their problems to him when he is possessed. The participant describes having a caring and nurturing mother whom he perceives as paralleling the qualities of the goddess herself. When we asked him how he views the goddess, he said that he views the goddess as forgiving, attentive, protective, but also capable of anger when necessary. His relational experiences with his elder brother were conflicted. The elder brother often disapproved of he often disapproved of his elder brother's way of worship, considering it inadequate, leading to frequent fights between them. In one of the memories, he told us that after being punished and thrown out of the temple, his brother threw him out of the temple as punishment without any food. Then he found a friend who offered him a meal, which the participant interpreted as a God sent, as a person who was sent by God, as an act of God. And he said that after that incident, the friend had provided him with food. So he interpreted that this was God's doing. And he said that after this incident, he felt more close to God. His brother frequently disciplined him through physical punishment in childhood, which compounded his distress during a time when his family was also under financial strain, because his father had also died when the participant was around 5 to 6 years old. Hence, this also impacted the family financially. The possession experiences began later, though he cannot recall the exact age of onset. He reports recurrent dreams of possession where he finds himself surrounded by crowds, mirroring real life ritual settings. Possession is most prominently experienced during their annual Vatsharik Shitala Puja, which is a puja that he carries out currently in his familial temple. During that, he has started experiencing possession, although it is not guaranteed that during every puja he will be possessed. It is not in his control, and he feels that whenever the goddess wants, she will possess him. This possession is usually preceded by symptoms such as bodily heaviness, heat sensations, fever, and social withdrawal. After this possession, he has no memories of whatever he has done when he was possessed. Others have described to him that he engages in acts such as he sits on the fire or he dances barefoot on broken glass. And after his feet is bleeding, he still continues these rituals despite physical injury. Although after he regains consciousness from his central personality, he has no awareness of feeling of pain. His own description of the experience includes a sensation of entering a dark world when there is drumming and chanting following a ray of light which he can see. From that ray of light, he can hear the goddess calling him towards that ray of light. After that, he does not remember whatever has happened. That is his last memory before being possessed. And when he is dancing on the fire, or he's sitting on the fire, or dancing on broken glass, after that, this is a source for concern from his mother and other audiences who have come to view him, because they are worried about the physical harm he incurs during these trance states. The participant, he initially disliked that this possession distinguishes him from others, and it often makes it difficult for him to blend in with his friends or other people. Although currently he is very comfortable with it, comfortable with the possession happening to him. He describes that after that possession has begun, he feels that there is a constant sense of the goddess's presence around him. Feeling he has described that throughout his life, he felt that he would be unable to exist without this goddess. And currently, he's saying that he describes that he feels that the goddess's presence is always with him. There is He always wanted that his childhood aspiration was that other people would recognize more and worship the goddess more. And after this possession, all his family members or other members of the community have started believing in the goddess, because they believe that if they ask the goddess of something, the goddess has granted their wish, and that thing has actually happened in real life. Hence, hence the possessed state, they believe that the goddess is actually being channelized and helping them, and more people are coming and more people have started believing in the goddess. Now I'll present to you the second participant, male participant, the case of the second male participant. Participant 2 is a 21-year-old Bengali Hindu male from a middle income family living in the Bankura district of West Bengal. He belongs to a family with a 150 to 200-year-old lineage of Ma Manusha Pujo, considered the oldest ceremonial worship in his region of Bankura. Since his childhood, he has grown up witnessing ritual practices and possession states within his family male members, including those of his grandfather and father as well. Around the age of 9 to 10, he began performing puja himself, and by late adolescence, approximately 17 to 18 years, he started experiencing supernatural encounters. He recalls a striking incident around 2 to 3 a.m. when he saw a female presence dressed in white standing beneath a tree, visible from his window, which initially terrified him to the extent that he avoided being alone, refused to sleep without his parents nearby, and required accompaniment even to the washroom at night. Over time, as these experiences became more frequent, his fear diminished and was replaced by acceptance and even comfort in the goddess's presence. His family, however, was very skeptical about these incidents, and they thought it was some mental illness, and hence they took him to the doctor, who performed some brain scans and no abnormalities were seen. He reports that before the arrival of the goddess, he perceives the scent of incense and marijuana. Sometimes this scent is also corroborated by his father and mother, who also get this scent. And he has also said that in their family temple, which they have built recently, a Kali temple, his mother at times also gets this smell, or his mother also at times hear the sounds of anklets. He describes he himself views the goddess as calm, beautiful, and supportive, someone who intervenes during times of illness or distress. He also reports visions of Kalima, Dakini, and Jogini, which are like demons which accompany these goddesses. Though he does not, according to him, these demons have also come to him, and they also want a place with that goddess in the mandir, but he is very scared of those demons, hence he did not grant them any space in their to reside in their family temple. His mother recalls that his possession states began around the age of 10 to 12, although he himself does not remember them clearly. These episodes occur exclusively during Kali or Mansha Pujo, lasting 2 to 10 minutes, during which he remains unaware of physical injuries, can walk on fire without getting any pain, and exhibits dissociative amnesia afterwards. During possession, the community members approach him with requests, and he delivers blessings or solutions, which has earned him significant respect in the locality. During this time, there is crowd. He described that there is a crowd of minimum 1,000 to 2,000 people gathering to witness this. And initially, he felt very embarrassed to be possessed in front of so many people, but over time, he has become very comfortable regarding this and accepted this.
Anoushka, you're lacking some time, so if you can go to the last slide and open
Okay,
the
okay, sir.
Q&A.
Okay, sir. So I would just like to show you the gist of the results of our findings. We found that these people have a very conflictual relationship with their authority figures in the TAT, that is in their unconscious mind. They have a very conflictual relationship with their parents, although in their conscious mind they view their parents as very close. And even with their contemporary figures, that is their friends or cousins, they also have a very conflictual relationship. And the usual defense mechanisms they were found to use were denial, repression, rationalization, passive aggression, and wish fulfillment. Because in one of the cards, they were talking about past life and how in the past life the person was a dog who has probably taken rebirth to. So these were the kind of stories we came about. So the main nature of their anxiety was the fear of being overpowered and helpless, and the fear of abandonment. And the main conflicts we found in unconscious conflicts were the need for affiliation versus the need for rejection, and the need for abasement versus the need for autonomy. Their conception of the world was mainly very uncongenial. That is, they did not view the world as very positive or supportive to them. And their internal needs, main needs, were need for affiliation and need for intra-aggression. Sorry. So these are the findings of what is happening in their unconscious. And this is the corroborated finding, which is after integrating the findings from the interview. So there were mainly these four themes, so superordinate themes that we found. That is the unconscious purpose of possession. So the possession helped with releasing their internal need for intra-aggression, as it was a manifestation of passive aggression. Then it helped them substitute their biological mother with a symbolic figure of the goddess who acted as a mother. Then it helped them catharsize their ungratified needs or need for affiliation, need for autonomy, as the goddess is the ultimate authority. And whenever they are doing something as a goddess, nobody can speak above that. Everybody has to accept whatever actions they are doing when they are a goddess. Then it also changed how others are viewing them. Previously, others viewed them as very submissive or docile, but after they started being possessed, others viewed them as more. Others started respecting them more. So certain hypoarousal and hyperarousal symptoms were also seen in them. They described that they had no pain incurred from those burns or cuts that they had seen. So, although there is analgesia or there is a loss of pain sensitivity, they also describe that at times before possession or after possession, they gain a lot of pain in their body parts. Their body feels heavy. So, it is more like a continuum. And only the two males, not the females, only the two males described seeing the goddess in a physical form, child form. And although the goddess in general is in adult form, they both gave the same description of a child form of the goddess which they saw. And another theme we found was the identification with the deity. All of them had a very idealized view of the deity and an enmeshed identity with the deity. Wherever we were asking them to describe their own selves, they started describing the deity instead. And they also could be seen modeling it. There is a possibility of modeling the possession seen in family members, because both of them had grown up in a context where they have always seen all this, and especially participant 2, who had also seen his own family members, males, being possessed since the age of 5 or 9 or 10. And the last theme was trauma and associative experiences. We had seen that during early childhood and even during this current time, they both have experienced certain traumatic events where participant 1 had experienced the death of the father, and participant 2 grew up in a locality where he had seen people being murdered in front of him, and apparently the locality, there are many murders taking places or many fights which are taking places. So there is a trance state, and then there is the possession, and both of them describe that they do not remember what is happening after the possession. And in the Indian context, these goddess and gods are there for years, so it has become a part of the collective unconscious. And given the context where they are growing up, they start forming this identification with their archetypal unconscious. So, this great goddess archetype is being manifested because they have over identified with that archetypal material. Hence, it is helping with the catharsis of their unconscious needs and conflicts, as it helps them gain autonomy and helps them catharsize these needs for introgression while nobody can question them. And they also can say that all these cuts and pains, I am not feeling anything. So the goddess loves me so much that she is doing all this, but I'm not feeling anything. So everything becomes very culturally acceptable. So we can understand that this acts as a cathartic outlet. And while there are various limitations of this study, that is the small sample size and the focus on only the Hindu religion sample, and also a lack of interdisciplinary complexity, there is a scope for future exploration of this possession, targeted on this possession by female deities in males, and understanding what is their attachment style with their primary caregiver. So, with this, I would like to end my talk, and I would like to thank for this opportunity to be able to speak on this topic. Thank you.
Est-ce que vous avez des questions? On peut la question. En français ou en anglais, on peut traduire. On n'est pas moi, donc je le sentais.
Hello, Anoushka, thank you for your communication. I would like to know actually why it looks like possessions has to come with a festival, and during the festival, the person who is possessed needs to go through ordeals like fires. It looks like a trial, you know. And he has to, as if he should prove that he is in trance. So I don't know why he goes through this process. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yes, sir. I could not exactly catch your question. Could you please?
I'm trying again, sorry.
It is more
During
about
the festivals,
the walking. Yes,
no,
sir.
the thing is, during the
more?
festivals, they go to trance, and every time they go to trance, they need to go through instruments that put in on the face, on the skins, with fires. They walk on fire, something like that. Why do they have to do that? Is it to prove that they're in trance?
Sir, the videos that I showed you were from communities where it is very ritualized. So they are trained mostly from the childhood, where they have to dress up like that, and then they are trained how to go into trance. And these are some acts that they perform, which are also a part of the ritual. But the community, the people I took data from for my research, it was not ritualized. So the people said they are not aware when they are being possessed, and the possession at times is so painful to them that they would not rather be possessed. So these acts of fire or glass, dancing on glass, which you're talking about, from our research, we concluded that these were these catharsis for the needs of intra-aggression, which we also found in the unconscious needs. Because when the person is dancing on that glass, or they are walking on the fire or dancing on the fire, the person's mother came up to the goddess to ask the goddess to relieve him of that pain. So that fulfilled his need for affiliation and succurrence from the mother as well, unconsciously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the question.